Hello. Welcome to this week's live event. My name is Jeff Rolka, and this is the weekly event where we get together and talk about vocal stuff. It's really your live event. So if you've got questions or comments, good evening, Aldo. It's great to see you here. If you got questions or comments, this is the place to hopefully get them answered, get some demonstrations, if necessary. Good afternoon, JC's Radiant Ray. Hello. And hello, Blue Third Up. Welcome. And hello, Sandra. Welcome. It's great, as always, to see you all showing up. The chat's open, so please, please dive right in. Be not shy. I can almost guarantee, I have to assume that if you are thinking of a question, someone else is probably wondering that very same thing. And it'd be great. So chime right in. I actually don't have anything left over from this week. Hello to Deus. Hello, Heidi. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I don't have anything left over from this week. So, the sky is the limits. You can probably, Blue Third Up, please jump in. Blue, jump in. Striker. All right, here we go. Now we're talking. Anyways, the chat's open. Please jump in. Striker. Hi, Jeff. I have to practice with both baritone and tenor warm-ups. Do you have any advance that has both ranges for male? That's interesting. You won't get the... actually, the diaphragmatic warm-up is done for male voices. So if you did a search on the channel looking for male voices with no modifier, like not higher, not lower, not tenor, just male voices, then those would actually cover both tenor and baritone ranges. The diaphragmatic breathing, the warm-up for diaphragmatic breathing for male vocalists would cover both baritone and tenor ranges. So that would do the trick there for you. Great work on the range, by the way. That's good. It's very good. Carlos is saying hello, and I say hello to you too. Malu, hello. Hello back. Capone, hey. Welcome, Capone. Blue Third Up. What are your recommendations for songs with a high tessitura? Gosh. Can you be more specific, Blue? Oh, wait. Is there an exercise for not spreading the vowels through the break? Okay. So let's see. Blue Third Up. Can you please remind me? I feel like I remember that you're a tenor, but I'm not entirely sure. So if you could just tell me what vocal range you're talking about, and then I can perhaps throw some ideas your way. Because it really does vary from vocalist to vocalist, unless you want to change keys. And then if you're willing to move the key on a tune, then we could almost pick anything. Though that being said, there's I think some good choices just off the top of my head. But please clarify that for me. Anna. I think that's applause, which is awesome. Thank you very much. Minran Yoke. I want to become a professional singer. I'm in 12th grade. What do I do? Cool. Well, if you're in 12th grade, hopefully you've been... I see. I'm going to skip down here. Minran's also said, what would you classify the voice of Frank Sinatra as in opera, and how can I get his voice or sing like him? Okay. Frank Sinatra was a baritone. He is what you might call a crooner. So I think what you mean by in opera is you're talking about vocal fauche. So he was a baritone. Very, very good control of his registration events. He makes very, very beautiful seamless transitions, same as Elvis. How can you get his voice? Well, you can't get his voice because there's only been one Frank Sinatra. But if you want to sing like him, what I would recommend you do is work towards a very even and balanced approach to the phonation of your voice. Learn to make your registration event through the secondo passaggio as smooth as you possibly can. Learn about key areas, learn about music theory so that you can make sure that the songs that you're singing are in appropriate keys for your voice, because he when you listen to him, he clearly, I mean, of course he had lots of people helping him too, but he clearly has a very good idea of where his sweet spots are. Now, secret special sauce when it comes to Frank Sinatra is he is among musical circles, he is most notable for his phrasing, how he puts a musical phrase together, the way that where he chooses to breathe, when he chooses to breathe, and how he strings it all together. Train your ear, listen for that, and that will be perhaps the most notable stylistic element of his that you can begin to incorporate into your own music as soon as possible. And that sort of thing just does not go out of style. Good phrasing is wonderful. It can take an average sounding song and make it spectacular. So, in short, that's what I would suggest you start to check out. Tadeus, how do you sing louder and stronger, but still maintain the flexibility in your chest voice? By focusing more on the resonance of your voice than any kind of sensations or feelings of engagement at the throat. If you're feeling the weight of your voice in your throat, then you're too heavy in the muscular tension during your phonation, and that's going to mean that you're not as flexible. There's a saying that one of my music teachers from way back once said that if you want to go fast, you have to be light. Now, that doesn't mean thin or airy or anything like that. It just means that you have to muscularly be light and agile. So the key there is going to be finding your balancing point. Find your balance for where the vocal fold and your core muscles, the subglottic pressure, or in other words, your support or airflow, are really, really well balanced. That's going to create a great sense of agility for you. And then you might find that you're going to need to engage ever so slightly a little bit more. There are a couple agility focused videos on the channel. And the one thing, I don't know if I mentioned it in the videos or not, but I'll mention it here. The longer the phrase is, the more you have to make sure that you're staying engaged and keeping that suspension of your musculature through the core really, really going and going and going. You have to reinvest in it, refreshing it, keep it moving, and keep it at the forefront of your mind. Because the minute that you start to slack off on that is when you're going to start making up for the airflow with muscle tension, and that's when you start to lose flexibility and agility. So that's the short answer to that. But I said, check out the videos. There's a couple agility videos in the channel. I think there's like I think it is an agility playlist, actually. I think there's a playlist on the channel that talks about agility. If it's not, it's in specialized technique. FYI, the resonance will also create more volume for you. And you'll be able to move more air over the vocal fold and still keep it light, as in not muscularly engaged, not airy, but just not gripped with musculature. And that's going to create more resonance still, and that's going to create more volume for you. Carlos, I want to improve my tone. I'm a tenor. I hit the notes right, but I feel like my tone needs to get better. Carlos, can you be more specific? How so? Like, what about it needs to be better? Can you elaborate? And maybe elaborate on what range you're in. Are you in your chest voice? Are you talking about the upper register? Are you a belter? Like, what's happening? Can you fine tune that a little bit more for me? Minron, what would you already talked about that. Nalissa, how can I learn to sing opera? That's a very broad question. The I lost it. I'm always the scrolling. I scroll poorly. How can I sing opera? Um, that's such a broad question. Truthfully, all the technique on the channel is applicable to that vocal styling. You will need to cultivate a lot more release than the average pop vocalist is going to need to incorporate. And you're also going to need to incorporate a lot more engagement and resonance. But all of those things are on the channel. And I would say just start working your way through. If you're new to vocal studies or you're new to singing in general, then begin with the beginner. I should really relabel beginner. It's more foundational exercises because it's appropriate to all of us, no matter our skill level, and go from there. Obviously, getting a teacher can be very, very helpful in this regard. And I would fill my Spotify playlist, if you use Spotify, with the people that inspire you. Blue, third up. Is there an exercise for not spreading the vowels through the break? Think about that more as a sequence of vowels. When I've got vocalists that are spreading their vowel sounds, and that's a very common thing to have happen, find the vowel. Almost everyone has one vowel that they make successful transitions through the secondo passagio with. And what you want to do is, but it's neither. Yeah. So find your vowel. Find which one it is. It's almost always A for a lot of people because it's neither too narrow nor too wide. Use that as your base and try to be aware of the physical experience of what it feels like. Where's your tongue? What does it feel like on the body? What's your engagement feel like? And the practice is trying to sing the next vowel into it. So you use it as a template. And usually you want to change to it on your way down. If you find that you're still spreading, the one exercise that really works well for ah is the old peanut butter trick. So you start with A, you pretend like you got peanut butter stuck to the roof of your mouth. And when you make the change, you kind of use the tongue to pretend and scrape peanut butter off the roof of your mouth. And that can help keep the rear of the tongue elevated, which will almost always get you a better focus for the ah vowel. This translates pretty well over to O, and those are the two real trouble spots for most vocalists in terms of the 5 vowels that we practice in terms of width through the secondo passagio. So those are some of the exercises that I regularly use. The MOBA is saying hello, and I say hello back. Heidi, thanks for the video on transposing. I usually check to see how high the high note is and how big the interval is. Oh, okay. I thought that was going to carry on. Yeah, that's really, really good. There's got to be more to that. Maybe not. I guess not. Okay. Oh, no. Yes. Going by high note is a really, really good way to do it. But as I mentioned in the video, sometimes if you bring that down, you can inadvertently get the piece to be too low. So always take a look at both high parts and low parts and balance out what you want to say with your particular version of that song. Today, I'm a countertenor and there aren't any warm-ups for my range, so which warm-up should I use? Gerald Ryan saying hello, and I say hello back, Gerald Ryan. Tadeus, I would use probably generally. It depends. Okay. I would really have to hear your voice to know more about your vocal range. In the school of thought that I study in, countertentors. I'm getting a cold again, and so I'm sorry. I'm speaking a little bit funny tonight. Countertenors are sort of addressed differently than some other vocal fascias because oftentimes they're not necessarily a tenor. They're oftentimes baritones that are singing in a particular way, and so it would really depend on what your unaffected vocal fascia is. Now, if you're from a different discipline that treats countertenors differently, then in general, the full range tenor videos go as high as G5 or A5. The alto videos go as high as B flat 5, sometimes C5. The mezzo videos go as high as full range. I'm speaking all in terms of full range here. The mezzo videos will go as high as F5. Sorry. Altos go as high as B flat 4. Tenors G or A4 depending. The mezzos will go as high as F5, and the sopranos often go up to G or A5, sometimes a little bit up to C6. And I would base your decisions on that. Those are the range. That's the topmost notes for each of the respective full range fascias that I generally adhere to. And the low notes are, well, if it just gets too low for you, then just drop out and get back in when it's appropriate. Aditya, hello, what is mask voice and how do we find it? I love this question. Okay, so the mask is an aspect of resonance for the voice. If you sing without it, it's very dull sounding. Now, if I add it back in, you get a much more full spectrum sound. Mask is what generates what's called the singer's formant, and that is an EQ band. It's a frequency, a resonance, if you will, in the voice that for most singers falls between 2 kilohertz and 5 kilohertz, and it has the ability of generating a lot of projection for us. So all things being equal, if I sing without it, you can hear how much more my voice tends to jump out at you. And I'm not doing anything but allowing for a little bit more forward placement. It is often confused with nasality, but to truly be nasal, we have to get a disconnection from the chest voice. And that obviously is too far. So I doubt that you would end up in that position, but that's what to be conscious of when you're working on your mask. The NG exercise, and it's in several videos. The we say hung. That can really help you dial in old Bay Area expression. Fine tune the amount of mask resonance that you want to use. Voice types. I think I am dramatic baritone or want to be. Is it possible to change voice type, color of voice? Yes. You will find many baritones masquerading as tenors because they will match the volume profile and the resonance profile of tenor range vocalists. There's a very, very famous tenor vocalist back in the San Francisco Bay Area, whom I studied with for a little while, who was a total baritone, absolute, not a tenor, but he really got his secondo passagio transitions so that they're super smooth, and he has a great ear for matching resonances and colors, volume profile especially too. For a baritone mocking up a tenor, you have to be very conscious of how much lush, beautiful, rich low tones you incorporate, because those of us that are tenors because of the equipment we got, don't necessarily have that kind of richness in the range that you do. Striker, sweet. I'll check that out. Just finished your mix warm-ups there. Brilliant. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Eduardo, hello from Brazil and hello from England. Thank you for joining us. Firstly, let's say that what you do is unbelievable. You bring a high level of knowledge of singing for free in an extremely simple way. Excellent. That is the goal. That is the goal. And thank you very, very much for your kind words. I really appreciate it. Aldo, great. It's like I was so nervous about that transpose video. I was really, really sweating that one. Now that I'm starting to write lyrics and melodies, I think this would help me a lot. Thank you, Maestro. You're very welcome, Aldo. Now, other question for me, still focusing on solfège. Any tip to explore new things? Yes. So first of all, I want to commend you for sticking with the solfège. It takes a lot of dedication to stay with that. What you might do, I don't know if you've already done this or not, but my next challenge, if you've been singing along with the solfège videos, is to, if you can, pick some simple songs that you are fond of and see if you can figure out the solfège for them. So, I mean, it doesn't really matter what it is. It could be anything. But see if you can reverse engineer it so that you can begin to transcribe the melodies from these songs that you're fond of. You maybe try like some. I mean, I'm not all. I know what you've posted in the Facebook group, and some of them, a lot of components of that would actually be pretty fun. Adele is a very melodic singer, and those melodies are they are what we would call diatonic. They stick, for the most part, they stick to the key area that they are written in. There are very few accidentals in those melodies. So that would be my next recommendation for you, is start doing some transcriptions using the solfège syllables and reverse engineer the melodies. Blue third ups, clarification, I am thinking about baritone. I have my secondo passagio at E4. In some songs, I can't transpose any lower, so the high notes stay around the passagio. Okay, great. And so this is in reference to good repertoire selections for upper register work. I don't know if you like it or not, but Billy Joel is a baritone, and working on his stuff could be really instructive for you. I would stick to something like, I mean, you could start with Piano Man. That, I'm just quickly thinking through it. So that's gonna challenge. It kind of, he gets into the secondo passaggio. He's gonna stop on that E natural at E4 there for a brief moment once he goes up into that range of his voice. But that's a fairly light touch in terms of transition technique. So you might start with something like that. Thinking. Though you could really pick anything from there. Some Elton John songs would work for that as well. If you like the Beatles, pick something by Lennon. Lennon typically doesn't go past a. I don't want to generalize, but in general, mostly he's not going to exceed a G4. There are occasions when that occurs, but those would be good places to start. I think the most important thing is to, initially at least, keep it simple. Nothing with a lot of ornamentation or riffs or things like that in it, because we want to really just focus on your technique and getting you smoothly through that transition in your voice. I'm going to do my station identification. My name is Jeff, and thank you. Every week, this is so much fun for me, and I really enjoy all the questions and the interaction. So thank you all so much for joining me. If you've subscribed, thank you. And if you haven't yet, I hope that you'll consider doing so now. And the chat is obviously open, so let's get back to it. Eduardo, I am sure you've impacted the lives of thousands of people as well as impacted mine. I am very grateful. Thank you. Sorry. Tadeus, please do a Beyonce vocal analysis quickly. Let me think about that. I'll have to think about that. I shy away from that sort of things because of copyright reasons. That was another reason why I was really nervous about this week's video, because I wasn't sure. I did the research on Danny Boy and it was in the public domain, but I just wasn't sure if they were gonna. I totally gotta hurry up here. They were gonna hit me for that. But anyways, I will give that some thought. Thank you for asking. Blue Third Up Jazz is about style, and Sinatra has style which is unique, which is, yeah, I could not agree more with you. Yeah. Hills, Sky to Mars. That is an awesome user ID. Can you just tell me, do I have to stop consuming dairy products forever or just before the performance? Listen to your body. If you find that it's if you maybe keep like a dairy log, not necessarily a food log, but just a little dairy log, and if you have a gig on Tuesday and you have milk on Monday and it's still messing you up, then you might have to go 2 days. But it differs from person to person to person, and you've just got to listen to your body. Quentin says, hello, I have a question about passagio. Okay. Can you sing above the secondo? I'm not entirely sure how that works. Yeah, sure. It's so my thing is to make that transition as smooth as possible. Excuse me, that was disgusting. I literally just cleared my nose and yeah. Anyway, so my thing is to make it as smooth as possible. But so I'll give you it in stages, all right? Here is the untrained vocalist. You hear how airy it gets, right? It just skids off. And that's a falsetto tone production. That's the ligament vibrating. When we learn to coordinate the cricothyroid muscles and we get a good transition, then we balance the amount of vocal fold engagement with the elongation of the vocal fold. The initial stage is the resonance won't match and it'll sound like this. It feels quite light, almost as if it's falsetto, but you'll notice that the volume remains more consistent. It's just very dull, right? The final stage of that, and this is like, I'm going so fast. It's not like you do the first one, the second one, and the third one, and then 5 minutes later, you've got it sorted out. I mean, more power to you if you can. But usually this takes a little bit more time than that. Finally, you want to match resonance. And now you're singing through the secondo passagio. And that's it. It's really not any more complicated than that. It just takes practice. And if you've developed habits of squeezing or belting beforehand, then it can be quite challenging. Eduardo, I have a question that I wanted to ask a long time ago. Something that nobody explains in a simple way. I'm a baritone and I love musicals. Sounds awesome. I would like to know of those powerful notes like F sharp G that Michael Ball hits, Empty Chairs at Empty Table, for example, are belting notes. If yes, how to achieve that sound? I would have to listen to that. I am not up on that. But what I will do, I will make a note of that. And I can go listen to it, and I will talk about that next time. And if you cannot join us next time, you can watch it afterwards. Get a pen. Got my official YouTube pen again. Michael Ball. Oops. Empty chairs at empty tables. Now, what I will say is this. Belting in the musical theater repertoire is typically the way that's a lot of belting going on in theater. Though there have been some very, very famous musical theater vocalists who, after the fact, always said that they never really did it. But I'll have a listen, and I'll talk about it next time. Hello. Hope you are well. Thank you very much. I think I'm closing off my nose by raising the soft palate. Do you think it's okay? I can't feel any nose resonance by doing so, and it's difficult to get through the break. Yeah, you might want to back off that a little bit. If you squeeze it too much, and you can block off too much airflow, and especially if it's getting difficult for you and you're having problems getting through the secondo passaggio, then release that a little bit. What you might do is if you take your tongue, start at your front top teeth, and run the tip of your tongue along the roof of your mouth until you get to the transition point. You'll feel that where the bony ridge leaves off, and it's like the hard palate is forward and the soft palate is back. Imagine aiming your sound for that point. That has had a really good impact for me in terms of balancing resonances between too much lift at the soft palate and not enough. Hills, Sky to Mars, answer me, Jeff. I think, didn't I? Did I miss something? I thought I did. I remember commenting on your user ID. Where was it? That's too far back. There it is. Oh, right. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm going as quickly as I can if that's what that's if that's why you piped in with that. I'm just going as quickly as I can. Quinton Pace. I assume so, since the highest tenor passagio is E to A, and they sing above that. It seems like tenors get more notes above that than other voices, though. I'm not sure what that means exactly. Striker. While I was practicing the Mixolydian scale vowel changes, I found the move on the fifth much more natural. Is that an indicator I need to work it where you suggested, or just the nature of my voice? It may be more likely the range, depending on the range of the scale in question. If it's all scales, then it's perhaps force of habit and just how you're hearing things. If it's one specific scale, then it may be range related and where your transition points are. The most important thing about the vowel changes in the exercise is that you do them predictably, whether it's exactly where I do them in the video or someplace else. I want you to be consistent with your placement of the transition so that you can plan for it and execute it in the exact same place each time. It's about planning and looking ahead. That being said, there are times when it can be beneficial to have the transitions on the bottom or the top, depending on what you're working on. If I'm working on range expansion, I'll often want them and be quite insistent about them being at the top because I'll be transitioning from a narrow vowel to a wide one in the hopes that it's going to stimulate airflow through the turnaround. If it's on the bottom, I'm trying to get a seamless transition, and I'm trying to have you be as light as I possibly can get you to phonate on the vowels in question. Johnny Utah. Mr. Rolka, I warmed up my voice with one of your warm-up videos for tenor. My voice started to become hoarse. Well, first things first is stop. Don't do that. If you're getting hoarse, then you may be pushing too hard as you go up into the upper register. you want to make a smooth transition through the secondo passaggio. Oftentimes, hoarseness is also related to airflow. If you're not engaged sufficiently, then that can lead to hoarseness as well. But the most important thing is you've just got to stop, evaluate what's going on, take a close look at what you're singing, the range that it's in, how are you approaching the range, and then give it a rest until you're feeling good again and your voice is recovered, and then start your practice again. Also, if this is a regular occurrence for you, I would stick with any video that is not labeled full range. And if even in those videos you're getting hoarse, then you may consider the baritone range. And failing that, go back to the beginner exercises and work on balance of the vowel syllables so that you're using your vocal mechanism efficiently and without any strain. Delette, happy Saturday to you too, and I'm glad you're here as well. Thank you for joining us. Blue third up, how to eliminate the downwards pull of chest voice when ascending phrases. That's an awesome question. Thank you for asking. Honestly, it takes practice. It really just does take practice. In the initial stages, if you've been very heavy with the thyroarytenoid singing voice or so-called chest voice, then you may find that you're going to need to really exaggerate how narrow you begin your phrases when they're ascending. That can often be... the other thing to do is to practice them descending, narrowing while you descend, and then turn it around. So practicing that open, narrow transition and getting really used to it. Oftentimes that habit is as much conceptual as it is practical. In other words, there's a certain you're thinking about your chest voice in a certain way, and perhaps not evaluating all the other options that are available to you. Not that this is going to make you hoarse, but like similarly to the person who was reporting some hoarseness, the beginner stuff. He. Although I think that exercise is in a really recent warm-up too. I want to say it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago that I did a bunch of and those exercises, that one in particular, is about balancing airflow and vocal fold engagement, and then when it's in that balanced stage, quickly singing the scale so you can try to feel what that feels like. That might really help as well too. High Hills, Sky to Mars, you surely can continue to eat dairies through your life. Don't worry, absolutely. John McDonald, Jeff, love your baritone warm-ups. I got a little problem that I noticed when recording my voice on GarageBand. I noticed that I sounded flat. If that is the case, you may, if you're sounding flat, but you're not actually flat, then there's not enough of that singer's formant, that resonance that helps us with projection in your voice. Practice the hum. Practice that exercise so you can get a sensation of what some of that mask resonance feels like, and then go back and try your recordings again and see if that helps. But when we sound flat, but we're not, then it's almost always a resonance issue. If you sound flat and you are actually flat, then it's a vocal fold engagement issue. When the vocal folds get too muscularly engaged, then they will kind of get bogged down. They won't vibrate at quite the right frequency. And in that case, evaluate your airflow. Evaluate how you're staying engaged in the various ranges of your voice. Hola! Mar, I'm so sorry. I see vert, which I believe is green. I'm really sorry. I don't know what that says. I do apologize. Blue, third up. My vowel is E, as in we. Yeah, that is often the case. E is a good narrow vowel. So work that when you're working that over the secondo passaggio. Well, first of all, start it by working it just below the secondo passaggio. So stay. You see baritone, E natural. So maybe like limit yourself to a D natural, like D4, right? Like right above middle C, right? And work it as in E, E, A, E, O, E, and try to get those resonances to match. Feeling that E vowel, being very conscious of what it feels like in the tongue, the oral cavity, and making that transition. If you need to paste the rear of the tongue to the roof of the mouth and do a little bit of a as a temporary practice to feel the more open vowel resonating properly, then it's just a little bit of a practice, and then you can practice without it and you'll be fine. It works. I use those exercises very, very frequently. Pardon me. Leonardo. Hi, Jeff. I'm being trained as a countertenor, and I've been curious on exploring more of my upper register. That's awesome. Good job. Ross says hello, and I say hello back. Ross, I have a solo for All I Want for Christmas, but I kind of struggle with low notes. Can you tell me more, Ross? Like, what do we mean by low notes here? Like, what range are we in? What's your vocal fosh, if you know what it is? And yeah, tell me more. Tell me more, and maybe I can shed some light on it for you. And everyone, I'm really trying, to get through. So please be patient if you've typed it in. I really, really appreciate your patience. Heidi, I'm an alto and can go low, but high plus a big jump makes me nervous. Yes, I'm with you. Practice it from the top down. I should have done this in the transpose video, but it was more about why to transpose rather than the technique of it, or the technique of how to sing things. But yeah, if you've got a big skip, like in Danny Boy, it's got this major sixth, right? Practice it from the top down. And what it will do is it will help you to learn what kind of airflow and what kind of openness you need in the top note. And then when you're starting on the bottom, so long as you are light, muscularly light enough, you will more easily remember the space and the airflow required, and then you will go right up to the note. It takes a little bit of practice, but that's the way to practice that. Dominique Griffin, how do I find my voice again? I haven't been singing as much as I used to, and my voice isn't the same. Keep going. That's really the answer. I'm sorry. It's not... It's still in there, unless something traumatic has happened to you or you've changed something dramatically. It should still be in there. Now, obviously, if we're talking like you haven't been singing in 30 years, then things may have changed a bit. But if it's been a year or 2 years, then it's back there. But you may have to retrain yourself, and you may have to also retrain the musculature through the core of your body. If any of those things have changed for you as well, then that can have an impact on how you phonate. Maestro, any thoughts of James Brown as a singer and as a persona? Where do I even begin? I feel like that's a bit of a trick question. I got to tell you, though, when I think about James Brown, I mostly think about how tight his band is, man. Like, they are just so tight, like ridiculously tight. They're amazing. But I mean, style coming out of his style. Ross, good at high notes though. Good, excellent. Jonathan, hey man, hello from Germany. Hello from England. I've been singing many of your videos, really helping me develop. Dankeschön. Thank you very much. San Fran Bay or Tampa Bay? I was lived in San Francisco. I lived in the Oakland and Alameda, California. So right across the Bay Bridge from San Francisco, though my office was in San Francisco. What schools or colleges of music should I go to become an opera singer? It really depends a lot on how you study music. If you wanted to study in a similar method to the way that I teach, then you would want to go to like Northwestern University near Chicago. You could also go to Oberlin I think it's Oberlin or Oberlin Conservatory of Music in Ohio. I went to the University of Michigan. Yeah, that right off the top of my head. Stryker, no, laughing out loud. Aldo, if you have done well, it's your duty to send the elevator down. Kevin Spacey. That's awesome. I'm so excited to climb a new mountain. So blessed to have the ability to work and make my dreams come true. Wonderful. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yahaim. Hi, Jeff. I know you have made videos on falsetto, but I don't understand how to go into falsetto. A very interesting question. There's a little bit of... It's very difficult to describe that. It feels very glassy to me. In the right range, it feels that way. Lower down, it tends to be a bit on the airy side. Ultimately, when you're singing in falsetto, the vocal fold is being held slightly open, and the ligament is taking on more of the vibration for it. It is more about release than about doing anything. And the sensation of it is that it does come quite far forward. I feel it very forward when I'm in that register of my voice. Arsen, greetings from Armenia. Your lessons helped me a lot, so thank you very much for doing what you're doing. You're very welcome. I hope that you're still out there. I know there's a lot of comments I'm trying to get to here. If I'm in fact doing falsetto, why is it louder instead of softer? It's not soft when it's in the right register of the voice. We can sing in falsetto anywhere, right? Where it's very airy like that. In falsetto is about having the ligament take on the phonation of the notes. So the ligament's vibrating and creating the pitches. But when you get into the proper range of your voice, and I've been sneezing and coughing and spitting so much today, I'm not going to actually attempt it. I want to really badly, but I'm not going to. But when you're in the proper range for your particular voice, then the volume profile remains consistent with everything that's come before it. Gerald Ryan, I use Magic Sing to my breakfast face. I'm not sure what that means, but I love it nonetheless. Blue Third Up. Sorry, my clarification was about what are your recommendations for singing songs with a high tessitura? Oh, okay, got it. Negar Jahidi, what advice do you have for altos? Love your voice. There are few. I love working with alto range vocalists. The amazing lushness and beauty of that vocal fosh is just amazing. So that might sound kind of cheesy, but really, it's such a beautiful sound that you create in that range. Like, love your voice. Love your voice. You might consider developing your upper register, but don't feel like you have to. Michael Officer, hello. Great to listen in. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you for joining us. I hope you're still out there. Mrs. Webster, just want to say thank you for your videos regarding vocal rest and gentle warm-ups. So much while you recover from bronchitis. Excellent. Very, very good. I'm glad to hear that. I'm really, really glad to hear that. Gerald Ryan, sorry, wrong type. That's all good. I drink 4 gallons of milk a week and my voice is still stronger each day. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying, Stryker. It really comes down to the individuals. I'm not gonna. I want to try and get to as many questions as I can today, so I'm not going to go into my ins and outs of what I eat and don't drink. But you've got to listen to your body. Listen to what your voice is telling you. It will tell you whether it likes it or not. Blue third up. How to eliminate the downward pull of chest when ascending phrases. Did I not? I think you might. Yeah, I did. I think I did talk about that a minute ago. I just spoke about that. Sorry if I know I'm trying to get through everybody's questions here. What do you think about whistle tone? Honestly, I don't think much of it. It's cool when I hear it done well. The applications of it are sort of like a dark art. When you try to read up on the technicalities of it, you don't get a lot of information because when you are using a whistle tone, then the epiglottis is covering the vocal fold, and we can't put a scope down there, so you can't observe it directly. The vocalists that I have heard use it well, like Minnie Riperton, and I think Whitney Houston would do that from time to time. I think it's cool. That's about it. Yeah, I don't really think of it all that much. Any tips on developing ability to sing high notes, A and B flat softly? Rex, you're going to need twice as much engagement from your core muscles as you would when you're singing at a regular volume. You may also consider balancing it more towards your cricothyroid dominant singing voice rather than your thyroarytenoid singing voice. That will alter the timbre slightly. However, it will probably work quite well if you are trying to be soft. Dominique has retracted that. Quinton Pace. Thanks, Jeff. Sorry my posts were so broken up. I kept hitting the enter key to make paragraphs. I'm with you. All good. All good. Retracted. Eduardo, you're very welcome very much. Thank you. Quinton, your demonstration helped. I wasn't sure if I was doing head voice or not, but it sounds like I'm in the middle stage right now. Excellent. That's a good place to be. That is a good place to be. Keep it up. Quinton, I think I'm a bass baritone. Wow. It's nice to know that I still have some notes above D4 to get to. Brilliant. I think I've only had the opportunity to work with one true bass. And similar to the altos, and it might always be like the grass is always greener. Like I know I'm not going to ever have the kind of rich range in that area and that tessitura that you folks have, and it's so cool. It always, like, whenever I'm playing piano and vocalizing with someone who has a baritone or as in your case a bass baritone range, it always just brings a smile to my face. It's so amazing. Jaheim, I don't think range ties into voice classification as much as where your natural voice lies at. That is correct. Vocal fosh is about where the transition points are in your voice. Reverie Globe, the other day I saw Lady Gaga perform her song Million Reasons, and she goes off-key many times in the song. So I guess pitch control is a struggle even for professionals. Any tips on pitch control? Oh, yes. Okay, so there's two things here. One, if we're in performance and we miss a note, and we don't always miss that note, it just kind of happened, we make mistakes, right? We're not infallible creatures. So a certain amount of human error is to be expected. If you always miss the same note, it's always out of tune, then there's some type of recurring pattern or habit that you've developed around that pitch or around the musical elements that are occurring there, and that needs to be examined. In my teaching, I mostly focus on that aspect of pitch control, because those are the things that relate most directly to one's vocal technique. So, for example, if you're singing ascending phrases and you find that you're always flat at the top, you're not supporting enough. You do not have enough airflow in order for the vocal fold to stay released and vibrate at the correct frequency. And then, then there's a dozen other reasons why we go out of tune. If you find that you sing ascending phrases just great, but then the minute you start your descent, the bottom falls out from underneath you, well, you are not engaging enough as you start your descent. You've got to retain your abdominal engagement, keep the air flowing in a substantial fashion over the vocal fold so that you stay in tune. When we start talking about live performances and mistakes, like I'd have to look at the video or whatever it was that you saw with Lady Gaga. Like if it's that carpool karaoke thing, I mean, if they hit like a pothole or something, that could totally, have a little intonation thing there. Additionally, for live performances, the monitoring can have a huge impact on your intonation. If you cannot hear yourself on stage, the tendency is to push, and that will make you go out of tune. Yeah. Quentin, I transpose most songs down a major third or more because I can't navigate the upper passagio. I wasn't sure if that's where I would always cap off. Thanks again. You're welcome. Yeah. Pick something really, really, think like quarter notes, melodic. Okay, this may seem like strange, but you know what a really good tune is to work on the transition is High and Dry, that old Radiohead tune, because he typically, if you put the key correctly, then what you can do is you can go from the do re mi, and you can skip over the secondo passaggio, but at the very end of the chorus, you can sing down through it. And that matches the profile for studying and learning to sing through the secondo passaggio quite nicely. So that might be something to check out. But you have to pitch it correctly. Make sure it's in a good key for you. If you're bass baritone, then let me think about that for a second. It's the key of that song. That song is in E major, and he sings a G sharp. So maybe if you just dropped in a major second, so in the key of D, so that would probably work out all right, and that would have you singing an F sharp above middle C. And I don't think you would come. I don't think you'd have to sing. I think you would have to sing the D natural above middle C before you make your transition. Or do you? Maybe it's the B. I don't know. I haven't worked on that tune in a while, but yeah. Striker, I found that with only a tilt of my head, I can change my pitch without any other changes. Hit a tone and tilt your head slowly forward and back, and you may find something similar change. Absolutely. Especially if... that's more of a statement than a question. Sharp versus flat. Agreed. Okay, right. Anna, Mar is saying something like, nice to see you again. Oh, brilliant. That's very cool. Oh, right. Nice to see you too. I don't know if you're still there or not, but thank you so much. And thank you, Anna, for translating. I really appreciate that. Minran, I want to be a professional singer. And as to my earlier question, I have just started opera a couple months back in 12th grade and have no previous singing experience or practice. You're not doomed. Am I doomed? I thought that said I am doomed. No, I do not think you are doomed. Many opera singers do not reach full maturity until they're about 40. So you've got a lot of runway ahead of you. You got lots of time. Do yourself the favor of learning, learn the craft of music as well as singing. Learn your scales. Learn to read and write music. Learn all of those things if you have not already. That will that will give you an edge that far too many vocalists. Well, if you end up going to like a university to study music, then you're going to need to read and write anyway. So you might as well get started now. And but in the working world, the sort of general craftsman skills of musicianship, transpositions, key areas, understanding harmonic progressions, understanding voice leading, that will set you apart from your peers. You're watching my videos as a primary learner. Says excellent. Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. There's a lot of good information on there, if I may say so myself. Gerald Ryan, hi Jeff. How will I know my pitch limit? Honestly, Gerald Ryan, I would expect that to change over time. As your facility with technique improves and improves, you will find that you will just keep on making more and more transitions the higher you go. The lower boundary is more limiting, but I would think that you will find your limits slowly but surely, but that if you continue to study and continue to practice, and particularly making range expansion a goal, then you may find that you can keep on expanding your range for quite some time. You will run, I suppose at some point you may, but I don't know how to answer that question other than if you keep on going, you'll keep on finding ways to phonate a little bit higher. Minran, can I become a decent professional singer starting so late? Should I shelf my plans? Well, let's put it this way. If you don't get started now, it's not going to get any better by waiting. Start your studies. Get going. Now is the time. Yesterday was the time. But whatever. You've decided that you want to do this now. Get moving. I don't see any reason why you should shelve your plans unless something happens. I'm not saying that you will become a professional vocalist, but you won't know if you can become a professional vocalist until you start down the path of acquiring the skill set and dedicating yourself to the practice of what it is to try to be a professional musician. So there's no time like the present. And as for what the future holds for you, I do not know. But I'll put hard work up against talent any and every day of the week. Heidi, thanks for your answer. There is a skip of an octave in one of the Christmas songs we're planning on singing, both in the melody and harmony. Now I know how to practice. Excellent, 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 excellent. Gerald Ryan, thank you very much. I really, really appreciate that. Blue Third Up. Yes, I did answer. I pasted the wrong question for my notes. Thank you again for your answer. You're very welcome. Excellent. Maddie, before I started college lessons, I was always told to sing from the diaphragm, and air should go into the stomach. I now know this isn't good to say. What do you think of this myth? Exactly what you said. I try not to be judgmental when I encounter vocalists that talk about singing from the diaphragm, because it's hard and it's easy. Unfortunately, I feel like it's misinformation, and it's something that I've tried really hard to clarify in the channel. That the diaphragm is an involuntary muscle, that you have to influence its behavior by using supporting structures. One might also say, when singing from the diaphragm, well, what else would I sing from? Like, the diaphragm is what controls the breathing apparatus. So that's about it. Johnny, Utah, 2 questions. 1, hoarseness doesn't happen very often. Well, that's good, but I've not rehearsed in a while. When I did the warm-ups, it happened. Is drinking hot water and humming good? I wouldn't drink the hot water, but humming is okay. And 2, do I like turkey? I feel like I'm setting myself up for a joke, but yes, I like turkey. Capone, Boston Singer was great. Huge skip on a song. More Than a Feeling is 2.5 octaves. Really? I have to listen to that again. But he was awesome. Flo, big warm hello from Hungary. Hello! I think you're the first person who's chimed in from Hungary. Can you please share some tips on how to sound more jazzy and raspy when someone is used to classical singing. I really struggle with that. Thank you. Love your warmest. Wonderful. Thank you for watching. I'm almost done here. I'm going to take Quentin's there, the registration event, and then I do have to wrap it up. Flo, if you want to be a little gritty, then you might find that you're going to separate the vocal fold and allow for a little bit of the ligament to dirt up the sound a little bit. Hey. Now, you don't want to do too much of that. Like, too much of a good thing is a bad thing. So, you know, it's like salt and pepper. If you put too much salt in the soup, it's not any good, right? Good to hear, Johnny Utah. Yeah, okay. So yeah, a little rasp. Oftentimes that rasp is the it's a little bit of vocal fry. But you've got to be really loose to put that on the beginning of a tune. So you might just practice your vocalizations with a bit of until you can do it reliably, and that'll get you into there more effectively. In terms of the style of jazz, listen to your favorites. Consider doing a transcription of one of their tunes, and emulating their style to really learn what's going into it. Fred Skvelli. Hi, Jeff. I'm a tenor, having trouble determining if I'm singing higher notes correctly or not. I feel a bit hoarse after a gig. Should I not feel a bit sore, or is that normal? Really depends on how you're approaching it. If you're making a smooth transition to this kind of passagio, in other words, using your cricothyroid dominant singing voice as opposed to forcing the thyroarytenoid to belt, then you really shouldn't really be sore. But on a gig, it can be so challenging. Depending on the volumes, if you're wearing in-ears or not, it can be incredibly difficult. So yeah. I would. My first thing is I would assess my monitoring situation, and if the monitors aren't good, what can you do to fix that so that you aren't going to strain? Oftentimes at gigs, it's more about straining and pushing to be heard than anything else. Quentin. Well, I could be misdiagnosing myself. Right now, I consistently cap off at D flat 4 and bottom out around E flat 2, E2. I had a lot of tension to work through, so I always wondered if that masking a registration event. In retrospect, I think I had all the tension because I can't sing along with most songs in their original keys, so you always change. That is quite likely the case. If you're topping out around D flat 4, most pop tunes are going to exceed that by usually at least a perfect fourth, if not more. If you've been straining to do that, then the registration event for your voice is probably, if you're a bass baritone, you could be on it, and you could be masking it. That's well observed. That's a really, really good observation. Let me just scan what's else here. I do have to sign off, everybody. I'm glad Johnny Utah was not pulling my leg. Heidi is saying thank you everybody, for coming in. Not too much salt, and I'm gonna just take Heidi Baker, really? Okay, just add hot water to sage leaves. I will do that. I'm gonna take Rachel's question really quickly here. When I sing in my best range, I sing in something that isn't head voice because I can go down to B4 in it, and it's also not chest voice because I can go down to a D3 with my chest voice. I'm confused. Yeah. It is possible. It is possible that you're using your cricothyroid singing voice down into that range. That is very common. If you're, I'm guessing you're a female vocalist, alto-ish. And it would not be unheard of for an alto to get their cricothyroid dominant singing voice down to B4, but I'd have to hear you. Thanks, everybody, so much. Really, really great sessions. Great sessions. Thank you so much. Have an awesome week. Take really good care of your voices. Enjoy singing. I will see you guys again. Bye.